what better day than it to be Friday, which means our first hour is our national town hall meeting with the guy I think of as America's senator, although everybody in Vermont knows he's theirs, Senator Bernie Sanders. Brunch with Bernie. Senator Sanders, welcome.
Great to be with you, Tom.
So a lot going on. I think the NSA seems to be the big story of the week.
Well, there is a lot that's going on. On Monday night, we passed a farm bill. We will see what happens to that in the House. Then we proceeded to the immigration bill, which is a very, very big deal. Let me say a word about that, then we'll get to the NSA.
Okay.
In terms of immigration, as the son of an immigrant, there is a lot in this bill that I think is good. I think overhauling our immigration policies are long overdue and are needed, and I very much want to support this legislation. Here's what worries me about it. There are provisions in there called guest worker provisions. And what I worry about, bottom line, is that at a time when real unemployment in this country is close to 14%, counting those people who have given up looking for work and those people who are working part-time, when youth unemployment is much, much higher than that, I am not sympathetic to the idea of bringing hundreds of thousands both unskilled workers into this country as well as skilled workers, high-tech workers. There is a particular program called the J1 program. It's a summer work travel program. And what this does is bring in tens and tens of thousands of young people from Europe to work in all kinds of areas in the United States in terms of unskilled labor. And it just seems to me that at a time when youth unemployment is so high, when so many of our kids need additional money in order to pay for college, does it really make sense to bring in people from all over the world to work as lifeguards, to work in security, to work in all kinds of entry-level jobs?
Well, I ran across one in a ski lift in Vermont a few years ago.
That's right.
From
right.
One of the northern European countries.
So it is. I am concerned about that. I was just last weekend the weekend on Monday afternoon in Detroit, and I want to thank the folks at Wayne County Community College for hosting a town meeting on youth unemployment. We had just a lot of young people out there, and what I heard from these kids, these are kids, if you're living in Detroit right now, and these are mostly minority kids, it is very hard to find a job. The jobs that they're finding are often in the fast food places, McDonald's, etc. They're being paid $7.25 an hour, $7.50 an hour. They can't even get 40 hours a week of work. They're getting 30 hours, in some cases even less than that. So I don't know that it makes a great idea to bring other people around the world into work in McDonald's to compete with these kids. So we are going to introduce legislation as part of this immigration bill for a major youth employment jobs program. Important for the summer, but important for year-round. And what is disturbing about youth unemployment, if young people do not get into the workforce after they leave high school, I worry. Many of them are going to get into self-destructive activities, whether it's drugs, whatever it may be. So I think we have a serious problem we want to address. One way to address it is say, sorry, at this point, we can't have 100,000 young people from all over the world coming into the United States to take these jobs. We need them for our own kids. Second of all, we need a jobs program for our youth as well. Now, on top of that, obviously, it's not just unemployment. It's not just a youth problem. It's an overall problem, and we need to create millions of decent-paying jobs. As I've said many times, one way to do that is rebuild our crumbling infrastructure, our roads, bridges, water, rail, etc. And number two, the need to transform our energy system to deal with global warming. And when you do that and you move to energy efficiency, wind, solar, geothermal, biomass, you also create jobs. So that whole issue of immigration, very important issue, but in it I want to make sure that for low-income workers, they don't see more competition, which will lower wages and make it harder to find a job. So that's one issue we're working on. Now, the NSA stuff is a very, very big issue, and here's kind of what's going on in that. I voted consistently from way back in 2001. I was one of the few to vote against the USA Patriot Act. Why? because I worry very much about giving the U.S. government and the NSA and the FBI and all these law enforcement agencies and intelligence agencies just too much power over the average American in terms of collecting data. What we have learned recently, right now, is that virtually every telephone call made in the United States of America is now being filed by the United States government. Phone calls are not being listened to, and people should not get paranoid. They're just on file. So it means if you made a phone call at 10 o'clock this morning, you spoke for 26 minutes, and you spoke to another person, another phone line, that information is being stored. I have a real problem with that. And the problem is that in a free democratic society, you should be able to make a telephone call to anybody you want without believing that the United States government has that information. Obviously, this, by the way, is not just a governmental issue, it's a private sector issue. In my view, we are moving toward an Orwellian-type world where virtually everything you do, every prescription drug you buy, every telephone call you make, your location, the products that you buy in a store with your credit card, etc., somebody's going to know about that. And I think that as a society, we have not sufficiently addressed this tremendous spurt of technology which can keep track of us. And I don't like it. I'm uncomfortable with this whole business. It's a tough issue to deal with. But how do you retain basic American freedoms with all of this technology, both from the government and from the private sector? So we've just, in response to the recent revelations about the NSA, we've introduced legislation called the Restore Our Privacy Act, and it's pretty simple. I mean, what I want to see is our government have all the resources that it needs to go after terrorists who want to kill Americans and do us harm. I believe that's a very important issue, but I believe you can do that without undermining the constitutional rights of a free people. So we've introduced legislation that says that the government has got to show a reasonable suspicion. It's not a question now of collecting phone data on every single American. 99.9999 Americans have nothing to do with terrorism, and their phone records, in my view, should not be stored by the United States government. But when the government has a reasonable suspicion, that's a fairly low standard, by the way, that somebody is involved in terrorist activities, they go into what we call the FISA court, independent court, and say, Judge, these are the reasons why we think this guy is involved in terrorism. They make their case, the judge says, go get him.
You're just asking for them to respect the Fourth Amendment.
That's exactly right. And I think in reading the Fourth Amendment, we had that on our website, got a lot of attention. No way, in my mind, does storing the records of every phone call made in America adhere to the Fourth Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. So we have, if people are interested in reading the wording, it's a short bill of the legislation that we have offered, which amends the Section 215 of the USA Patriot Act. Our bill is called the Restore Our Privacy Act. They can get it at our website, sanders.senate.gov. Another issue out there of obviously ongoing and great importance is the issue of global warming. And I believe that legislation that I've offered, which along with Senator Boxer, will get a hearing probably within a couple of months in the Environmental Committee. And that's a very important step forward in order to address this planetary crisis.
That's great. Senator Bernie Sanders with us, taking your calls next on Brunch with Bernie, here on the Thom Hartmann Program.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
Check out Bernie's website and check out the bill he's offering over at sanders.senate.gov, G-O-V. And welcome back. Let's pick up your calls for Bernie. Glenn in Layton, Utah, watching Free Speech TV on the Dish TV satellite network. You're on the air with Senator Sanders.
Good morning, Senator. Congratulations on your legislation. I hope it succeeds for you. My question is about the prison system and their lobbyists. it seems to me that the states across the country are starting to become aware that they're missing the boat and will start to pass their own legislation for legalization of marijuana. What that will do to the prison system, it kind of makes it hard for corporations to run that sort of thing to keep up the population. So this is kind of a crazy question. I wouldn't blame you if you started laughing. But, I was wondering, in order to keep the population up, would it be possible for Congress to start talking about debtors' prisons and start putting people in prison based upon their lack of ability to pay interest and all their other fees?
So you're saying, will a private prison company start lobbying for debtor prisons when they start losing their marijuana inmates?
Yeah, well, in this day and age, it's hard to say any idea is crazy or any thought is crazy. No, well, I certainly hope that does not happen. I think what Glenn is raising is a very important issue. Let me just spend 1 minute on it. We have the highest rate of childhood poverty of any major country on earth. It's about 22%. Countries like Denmark, Sweden, it's probably less than 5%. Then we have a whole lot of kids who are dropping out of high school. We don't have any jobs for these kids. And shock of all shocks, we end up having more people behind bars than any other country on earth, including China. That's not per capita, that's just total numbers. And what Glenn is talking about is within the midst of all of that, you have a private industry, prison industry, that loves the idea of more and more people going into jail because they make money. Well, what do we do about it? I mean, I think for a start, you get to the root cause of the problem is that if kids drop out of school without any education, there's a strong likelihood they're going to get into trouble and end up in jail. Then you got bad drug laws, and there has been a movement in Vermont and around the country to move toward the decriminalization of marijuana and not locking up people who have not committed violent crimes. I know in an area in Oregon, they actually, because of financial pressures, so many people in jail and so little money, the state's having financial problems, they actually let people out of jail who should be in jail. So to answer your question, we got to get to the root cause, make sure that our young people have jobs and education rather than go through the school-to-prison route. I think we have to take a hard look at decriminalizing certain aspects of marijuana and so forth. That's that's where we want to go. But the goal is we certainly want to cut back on the number of people who are in jail. When people are in jail, the rate of recidivism is very, very high. It's a horrible experience. It's a life-destroying experience. And we've got to do everything that we can to cut back on the number of people who are in jail. It is a huge problem in this country today.
Senator Bernie Sanders taking your calls in our Brunch with Bernie hour, our National Town Hall meeting. Brunch with Bernie. We'll be back with more of your calls for Senator Sanders right after this. Talk media for the sane among us. Welcome back to the Thom Hartmann Program. It's our Brunch with Bernie hour. Senator Bernie Sanders taking your calls. David in Rio Rancho, New Mexico, listening on 1350 AM. You are on the air with Senator Sanders.
Hi, thanks to both of you for your time. And my question to Bernie is, why don't we have a high-tech New Deal for tech jobs, computer jobs, and everything, since that's what's booming? And the reason I ask this is because every interview I see on TV with the heads of companies, they say, oh, we have these jobs, but there's no one in America to fill them. And I've looked at the New Deal, and I thought, well, why not have maybe a jobs training program where people are either paid for their time or the training's free to begin with, where people update their degrees or update the skills that they needed since they're undereducated or something, to the point where, instead of paying more and more money, like myself, I like continuing education, but it's so expensive, but I just can't afford it because, and that's just my general question, is just a high-tech New Deal, and why can't both parties unify on that, since they all like jobs anyway?
David, thanks for that very important question, and you're absolutely right. What you are seeing on TV every night is somebody, a politician or some businessman going forward and saying that the major problem that we're having is we don't have enough high-tech workers in this country. That is why we need to have what's called an H-1B program, where we're going to bring into this country all kinds of high-tech workers, number one. Number two, if a foreign worker is studying in the United States, a foreign student is studying in the United States, gets a master's degree, and is able to get a job, that person will have a legal status to stay in the United States. So there is now a major effort on the part of high-tech companies to attract and bring foreign high-tech workers into this country. Now, the theory is that some of these guys are PhDs, they're going to be very brilliant, they're going to start new companies, create jobs in America. That's the theory. Well, the answer is, let me give you the brief answer. The answer is there is some truth in what these companies are saying. There are parts of this country and in certain industries where they cannot find American high-tech workers. I think that's true, and I think you should be able to bring in foreign workers to do that. On the other hand, I think that issue is being much exaggerated. In fact, many of these foreign so-called high-tech workers are coming in at fairly, with bachelor's degrees, at fairly entry-level situations as computer programmers and so forth. Can American workers do that? Yes, they can. But David's question, it goes a little bit deeper, and he says, if there is such a need, why aren't we educating young Americans to do that work? And he's absolutely right. We should. Within the immigration bill, there is a small amount of money that goes to what we call STEM, science, technology, engineering, math studies to help educate, but it is nowhere near enough. So bottom line is we have got to do a lot better job educating young Americans, getting them into the math, science, engineering areas in order to fill these jobs.
Marvin in Allentown, Pennsylvania. You're on the air with Senator Sanders. Marvin?
Yes, good afternoon, Senator. I truly appreciate. Yes, good afternoon, Senator. I truly appreciate.
You need to turn down your radio or TV, Marvin, and just listen to your phone. Thank you.
I truly appreciate the work that you're doing in the Senate.
Thank you.
I've been watching the House floor, the floor of the House, and in addition to the Senate, and their speeches. It seems to me, in which I would like for you to either validate or invalidate my assumption, it seems to me as if they're dismantling sequestration and picking and choosing what to fund and what not to fund. I'll await your answer.
Yes. Let me back up a little bit here. Sequestration is a terrible idea, and I voted against the legislation to allow it, which says that if we can't meet certain goals of deficit reduction, we're just going to cut across the board. Half of the cuts are in the military, but not even, and I believe we need to cut military spending, but this doesn't pick and choose. This is just right across the board. And half in domestic spending. What our Republican friends essentially want to do, in general, is to protect military spending and to move the cuts toward domestic areas. That is going after Medicaid, going after education, going after nutrition, going after food stamps, going after infrastructure, going after those programs and areas that middle class and working families are very, very dependent upon. I'm chairman of a subcommittee which deals with the Older Americans Act, which deals with Meals on Wheels. Right now, poverty among seniors is growing. You have millions of seniors out there today who are very worried about how they're going to get adequate nutrition tomorrow, how they're going to get the meals they need. And when they don't get adequate nutrition, what happens? They're more likely to fall, break their hips, end up in the emergency room, basically get sicker. It doesn't take a genius to understand that when you're malnourished, you're going to get sick, and then you go to the hospital at great expense. So those are the types of programs that our Republican friends are prepared to target, while A, they defend military spending, and B, they want actually even more tax breaks for the wealthy and large corporations. So Marvin is right in general in saying they're picking and choosing. They're going to go after programs that help low-income, moderate-income Americans protect the military and the wealthy.
Bernie, just a minute till break, not enough for a call. Do you see any possibility of change to this? Is there any serious talk about just stopping the sequestration?
Well, no, you can't just. The way to stop it is to come up with a budget. We passed the budget in the Senate. I'm on the Budget Committee, which wasn't everything I wanted, but it was a heck of a lot better than sequestration. It protected Social Security, protected Medicare, and it went after a lot of the loopholes right now that exist and brought in substantially more revenue than we currently have.
Right, but the House wouldn't touch it, right? Yeah. Okay, it's our Brunch with Bernie hour. Senator Bernie Sanders taking your calls. We'll be back right after the news with more Senator Bernie Sanders. Stick around.
You're listening to the Thom Hartmann Program. Call 866-987-THOM.
And don't forget Bernie's website, sanders.senate.gov, where you can see his new bill, his new act to amend the Patriot Act. Welcome back. It's our Brunch with Bernie hour with Senator Bernie Sanders taking your calls on the issues of the day. Pat in Beloit, Wisconsin, you are on the air with Senator Sanders.
Thank you. Senator Sanders, in the state, as you're probably well aware, we have both parties, or both houses, and the governorship in the Republicans' hands. And they have stuck in the biennial budget at least 40-some Alex laws that were secretively sent to members via a separate email so that the public doesn't even know what is being proposed until it is written and given to the legislators. And at this point, they've taken control away from local municipalities on water rights and construction guidelines and just everything you can name, including the fracking sand in the western part of our state, which is going to destroy our environment. And even last night, they passed a law that says that women have to have vaginal ultrasounds and things, and 2 other abortion laws. How do we ever stop Alex from doing this? I know they've gerrymandered the districts so that we're going to have a devil of a time getting control back of our legislature. What do we do?
Well, I'll tell you what we do, Pat. And there is no simple answer to your very excellent question. And the answer is educate, organize, and develop strong grassroots movement. Now, some people may not know what ALEC is, and that is what the right wing has done, the Koch brothers and others. What they have done is develop legislative agendas, which they then send to conservative members of state legislatures all over the country. And what they have done is they have good lawyers writing legislation. They have talking points that go with it. They have lobbyists that can follow the talking points and go to state capitals all over this country. So what they are doing is not only trying to develop a right-wing agenda in Washington, they're doing the same in a very organized and well-funded way all over this country. And that's what Pat is talking about. Where we are right now in this country, especially as a result of the disastrous Citizens United Supreme Court decision, is folks like the Koch brothers and Sheldon Adelson and others are able to put huge amounts of money into the political process. They can elect candidates at the statewide level, local level, national level, to push an agenda that favors the wealthy and the powerful and large corporations against the needs of working people. And that's what Pat is talking about. And the answer to that is it's a difficult process, but the answer in itself is fairly simple. We need to rally people around a progressive agenda, an agenda that says the government works for ordinary people, the middle class, working families, lower income people, and not billionaires and large corporations. We need to educate people. We need to have a presence on the media. We need to make sure that good people get elected to office to fight for working families. So we need to substantially increase the voter turnout. Our right-wing friends want, in a variety of ways, to lower voter turnout. So their goal is to have big money funding candidates, make it harder for working families and poor people to vote. That's their idea of democracy. Ours is the very opposite. So, Pat, there is no magical solution. These guys are tough. They are bold. In many respects, the Democrats, when they have power, are not as tough and is not as bold as these guys are. One of the issues I'm working on right now in Washington is it takes us 60 votes in the United States Senate to pass anything significant. Republicans are playing a terrible obstructionist role. We're trying to move to make sure that majority can rule, and we change the filibuster rules in the Senate. But, Pat, no easy answer to it, but just keep fighting.
Okay. Hessel in Temple City, California. You're on the air with Senator Sanders.
Oh, hello. This is Hessel. I was wondering what it is you thought about the NSA surveillance, and if you ever voted for the Patriot Act. Obviously you didn't, and I found out about that piece of legislation you had before I was put through.
Well, we talked about that a little bit earlier in the show. Obviously, I have always voted against the USA Patriot Act, and I am very concerned about the recent revelations, which says that the United States government is now collecting the data on every phone call that every American has made. I think that is in violation of the Fourth Amendment. I think that's not what a free society is about. We need our intelligence agencies to have the tools they require to go after terrorists, but I think that is not the same as filing having on file the phone records of every American. So we have introduced legislation. It's called the Restore Our Privacy Act. People can read it on our website, sanders.senate.gov. It deals with Section 215 of the USA Patriot Act, which allegedly gives the government the authority to do what they're doing.
Okay. Cora in Perryton, Texas. You're on the air with Senator Sanders.
Hello?
Hi, Cora. You're on the air.
Okay. Yes, Senator Sanders, I was just curious. You were discussing about bringing people in from Europe for high-tech jobs because we do not have enough people here that are educated enough for them jobs. And my curiosity is that you're saying that the youth not have jobs open for them as well because they are slowly educated.
Cora, you're breaking up really badly, Cora. Are you using a phone where you can stand someplace else, or is your phone just disintegrating? Cora?
Yes.
Okay, I'm having a hard time hearing you. What is your question?
I'm sorry, Cora. We can't hear your phone. You're going to have to try and call back with a different phone. Bill in Albuquerque, New Mexico, listening on KABQ. You're on the air with Senator Sanders, Bill.
Yeah, hi, Senator Sanders. You've introduced a bill, a carbon tax bill, and you say 50% of that money could be returned to the citizens, maybe monthly checks. I think that's a great idea, but what about returning 100% of it, like Dr. James Hansen, who came up with the idea originally, suggests, and because the alternative energy would be an incentive for them for that development. You don't need to set aside a portion of that tax to encourage them. I think 100% of it. There are people interested in proposing amendments to do that. Would you be in favor of that?
No, I wouldn't. I want some of that money that we're raising to be invested in sustainable energy. Right now, in my view, we have the technology today to make great strides forward in breaking our dependence on fossil fuel through solar, through wind, through geothermal, through biomass. We're making some progress. We have a long way to go. I want to see more money going into research and development in terms of sustainable energy. How do we make sustainable energy more efficient and at lower cost? So I think what we want to do is buffer people who may see higher energy costs as a result of a carbon tax and that's what we're doing. But I do also want money to go into the development of energy efficiency. We can create a whole lot of jobs doing that, save people money on their fuel bills, and sustainable energy.
Victor in Pittsburgh, Missouri. You're on the air with Senator Sanders.
Yes, good afternoon, Tom. Good afternoon, Senator Sanders.
Hi.
My question is this. Given the fact that the sensitivity of the NSA and CIA and all the intelligence agencies, there's been 70% before Obama, so they can't blame it on President Obama as far as privacy. What my concern is the military and the intelligence agencies is very crucial. And what do you think about restoring it back to civil service and military, and that way you could save some money on the back end, probably a lot of money, and that would end sequestration and resolve all the problems there.
I'm sorry, was that?
He's eventually suggesting that if we were to stop using military or all these defense contractors and security contractors, we'd save enough money to not need the sequestration.
Well, there are a lot of ways we can deal with sequestration. When 1 out of 4 major corporations in America doesn't pay a nickel in taxes, you can raise substantial sums of money. When the wealthy are doing phenomenally well, and in many cases their effective tax rate is quite low, we can ask them to pay their fair share. We can cut military spending. There's a lot of waste in government. There are ways to deal with sequestration. What Victor is talking about, as I understand it, though, is our growing dependence on private contractors. And I think he makes a good point. As you mentioned earlier, Tom, the fellow who made these revelations was not working for the government per se. He was working for a private contractor, and we have a lot of that. So, in general, I believe we save money. In this case, probably in terms of intelligence work, we have a more secure environment when people are actually working for the government rather than working for private contractors. So I would agree with Victor on that.
Okay. We just 40 seconds here, Bernie. Any possibility of movement in that direction?
I think there is an understanding. I'll never forget. I was in Afghanistan a few years ago, and I was taken around by a couple of guys who were driving an armored vehicle, and one of them worked for the military, U.S. military, was a soldier. One of them was a private contractor. They were in the same car doing the same work. In general, they did the same work. Private contractor made a heck of a lot more money than the U.S. soldier. Does that make sense? Not to me. So I think there are more and more people who are prepared to take a look at the role and the expense that private contractors are costing us.
Okay. 45 minutes past the hour. It's our Brunch with Bernie, our national town hall meeting with Senator Sanders. By the way, over at sanders.senate.gov, there is now a petition to support Bernie's privacy bill, his Restore Our Privacy Act, and that's over at sanders.senate.gov. You can sign the petition.
You're listening to the Thom Hartmann Program. Visit thomhartmann.com for audio and video archives.
Well, once again, sanders.senate.gov. They just put it up, a petition to support his privacy act. Welcome back. Dale in Boulevard, California, watching Free Speech TV on the Dish TV satellite network. You are on the air with Senator Sanders.
Yeah, hi, Senator. I'm Dale here in Boulevard in California. And my question is that, the Senate said the filibustering thing, but they keep hold up presidential appointments sometimes for years. Why can't the president just say, okay, well, if you don't act in a reasonable amount of time, then I'm going to assume that the Senate has no opinion on the matter, and I'm going to go ahead and complete the nomination.
Well, Dale, it's a little bit more complicated than that. What the Constitution says is that these appointments have to be made with the advice and consent of the United States Senate. So those votes have to occur. Your point, though, is absolutely correct. What we have seen in terms of judges, in terms of presidential appointments, is a huge amount of obstructionism on the part of the Republicans who delay these things as much as they possibly can, and then when they come up, force us to have 60 votes, which if the Republicans vote no, we don't have. We would have 54 or 55 votes. So what we are trying to do right now, and I think what the Majority Leader, Harry Reid, is trying to do, is say to these Republicans, listen, we've been really nice and tolerant about your obstructionism, but if at a certain time now you do not allow us to bring this thing up for a vote, if you don't stop your obstructionism, we're going to do it with 51 votes. And that's what I think he should do.
Daniel in Greensburg, Pennsylvania. You're on the air with Senator Sanders.
Hi, Senator Sanders. I just want to say thank you for everything that you do. I don't have health insurance right now, and I have my own small business, and I'm finding it very difficult to find answers about how this is going to affect me in the beginning of 2004. And it just seems like I'm a progressive, but I'm not going to just sit by. I think we're doing a terrible job getting answers to the American people about how this is going to affect them. I just don't understand why there wasn't funding put in to get federal people out in the areas to set up appointments and say, okay, here's how this can affect you. Because right now, my bank on their website is saying changes are coming to your health care. You need to come in and talk to us. But I think I should be able to talk to a federal person because, if you get the rules wrong, the federal person will say, well, you just got it wrong, in comparison to going directly to the horse's mouth where you can actually have some impact there. I just wanted to give you that information.
Well, Daniel, thank you, and I think you speak for a whole lot of people. I voted for the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare. I voted for it for a number of reasons. A lot of provisions in there are very, very good. I had my doubts, however, because it is awfully complicated, and that's a serious problem. And number two, I think Daniel's point is exactly right. The administration has not done a particularly good job in explaining how one proceeds under Obamacare. I would tell Daniel, in fact, they are spending a lot of money now trying to do just what he suggested, have people work in outreach, get people signed up, explain it to them. But I would say up until this point, they have not done a great job at that.
Back with more of your calls for Senator Bernie Sanders in our National Town Hall meeting, Brunch with Bernie, right after this. Welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you, and it's our Brunch with Bernie hour. Senator Bernie Sanders taking your calls. And Henry in Osceola, Arkansas, you're on the air with Senator Sanders.
Of the system and not getting good information about it.
Henry? Bernie?
Yes, yeah, I heard somebody talk. That's why I ain't say nothing.
Hello?
Okay, let's take Henry's question.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Bernie. Were you saying something I missed?
Well, I wanted to comment. If Henry could stay on the line for a second.
Okay, hold on just a second, Henry. Go ahead, Bernie.
Just say something else about what Daniel's point.
Mm-hmm.
When you have healthcare systems that are incredibly complicated, as the current system is, and you have all of this cost shifting going on, and all of the billing, and all of the arguments of what people are charging, and whether you owe money or not, all of that adds to the cost of healthcare. In countries like Denmark, they pay for health care through taxes. That's what it is. You walk into the doctor, you don't take out your wallet, you don't fill out forms, you get the care you need. Walk into the hospital, you get the care you need. At the end of the day, the quality of their care is as good or better than ours. Everybody is covered, and they're spending a little over half of what we spend per person on health care. So one of the reasons I support a single-payer system is it is a simple system, not a complicated system. We want our healthcare dollars to go to doctors, nurses, medicine, not to bureaucracies. So we've got to move to make our system much more simple. When we do that, we save money.
Okay. Henry in Osceola, Arkansas. You're on the air with Senator Sanders.
Okay. The thing I wanted to say earlier was really about the government program to let these corporations bring jobs in the country for high-tech workers. when we know, in fact, we have plenty of high-tech workers graduating, and a lot of people who like to go to school for those jobs can't afford it because the prices are really getting outrageous. But the other point I wanted to make was, you talked earlier about the lady talking about the abortion situation and everything, how these states are passing these laws and everything else.
Yep.
Now, give me if I'm right or wrong about this. Federal law supersedes state law. I know states have some provisions they can make underneath that law, but if they try to circumvent the law, shouldn't somebody in the state be held accountable for it, like the Attorney General getting off his tail? I don't care. Put cuffs on the governor. I don't care. Something got to be done to let these people know you're not just going to circumvent the law because you think you have the privilege of doing it after the federal government already passed the law and put it in place.
Okay. Henry?
Makes
Thank
two very good points. Let me start off with the first one. I think Henry's first point on high-tech workers is probably right. I don't think it's right 100% of the time. I think there are instances where companies who in certain areas of the country who have particular needs may not be able to find American workers. But on the other hand, I think there are a whole lot of Americans out there who have degrees in one or another technological area who can do these jobs. And one of the reasons, the concerns that I have about this immigration bill is there is an effort on the part of corporate America to reach out all over the world, bring in folks. These are not necessarily, we're not talking about super scientists here. We're talking about computer programmers. We're talking about entry-level technology jobs. Do I agree with Henry that we have Americans who can do those jobs? I do. And if you fill those jobs with foreign workers, you're really slapping young people in the face and saying, yuck, we don't want you. We don't need you, because we have other people from around the world who can do those jobs. So Henry, I think, makes a good point in that area, and that's the issue that I am focusing on the immigration bill, these guest worker programs. By the way, not just for high-tech workers, we're talking about low-skilled workers as well. I mean, we're talking about people who are lifeguards. We're talking about people who are parking lot attendants. We're talking about people who are working at a front desk. Do I think American young people can do those jobs? Needless to say, I do. So that's an issue that concerns me very much about the immigration bill. Second point Henry makes about state government superseding what the federal government is doing. What will happen on these instances, Henry, is I suspect people will go to court. It's not only superseding federal law, it's sometimes abridging the Constitution of the United States of America. And you have a lot of right-wing Republicans, especially attacking women's rights and other areas, who are, in my view, overdoing what they are allowed to do. And there should be legal action against that.
Michael in Garberville, California. You're on the air with Senator Sanders. We have 2 minutes to the end of the hour.
Hey, thank you, Bernie and Tom. I listen to your show all the time. Don't agree with everything, but I think you guys are great. My question, and I'll try and put it so you guys can understand.
Very briefly, please.
Yes, what is their end game of these Republicans and conservatives for the populace of the United States?
Okay.
What do they want to do with us?
Very good, Michael. Thank you. Great question. Here's the end game. They want to essentially repeal every significant piece of legislation passed since the 1930s, which protect working families, the elderly, the sick, and low-income people. That is their end game. They want to have a campaign finance system which allows billionaires to spend as much money as they want and which makes it as hard as possible for low-income people to participate. They essentially want to move us into a time when the wealthiest people in this country and the largest corporations have huge control over the economic and political life of this country, and working people from an economic and political point of view have very little to say. Some of these guys, not all of them, but the extreme right-wing people believe that programs like Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid not only should be cut drastically, that they are unconstitutional. Government should not be involved in those. There are folks there who believe that the minimum wage not only should not be raised, it should be abolished. And that if an employer wants to pay you $2 an hour and you are desperate enough to take that money, there should be no legal protection that you have for at least a minimum wage. That you should be forced to take anything an employer has to offer. You should have no worker protection on the job, safety protection on the job. That is their end game strategy.
Bernie, thanks so much for being with us today.
My pleasure. Take care.
Just a great job. And to all of our viewers and listeners, be sure to check out Bernie's website, sanders.senate.gov. You can support his Restore Our Privacy Act over there on a petition.